Mm, so we have in contrast to is a similar to as or to
In contrast
like.
to, no, in contrast to similar to like.
Okay, so we're comparing nouns here. So
Yes.
we have a large steel plants.
Hmm.
So the plants. I think that we cannot compare the plants with the first three ones. Well,
Very good. Okay.
yes.
So large plants is kind of like a place, kind of like a factory, right? So processing is not even a thing, right? That's a processing is an action kind of thing. So
Well,
you have to go to mills.
the processing is
Now
kind
processing
of
is a thing, okay, but it's a noun, but it's not a real thing.
yes,
It doesn't exist. You can touch it. So it's gotta be mills.
yes.
Okay, there you go.
Um,
Nice.
so I was between small mills. Um, I know that it's an essential, right, or a modifier between commas by process.
Okay, perfect.
So I have to go to the verb, which is have
Yep.
been
Have
able,
been.
and the difference is in the last verb, which is unremained and unremained. So one is in past and the other one is
Yes, that's the difference. Very good.
so we're talking in the present, I think, in contrast to produce several different kinds. To produce is in the present, so um, we can use the letter D or
Yes, letter D is the best one, especially for two reasons. Number one, if the present is not wrong, then the last one's going to change the meaning, right? Because originally they have remain in the present,
oh yes,
right? It changes the meaning how? Because in the first one, remain is parallel to put. Actually, it's not a present. Actually, they are both infinitives, but they're factorized in the two. Okay. If you choose remain, that's going to be parallel to something else, maybe being, but that just changes the meaning. That's not the same story.
okay.
So you're going to go with D. Very good. So original meaning, you want to preserve it similar to A. Nice. Now, one very important part, ambiguity in comparisons. Okay. This is what we talked about at the beginning of the lesson, right? Helping verbs or verbs in general are necessary when the comparison is ambiguous. It is generally less ambiguous to compare clauses than to compare nouns. Okay, let's see. Why is this one ambiguous?
Oh well, we
What
talked
do
about this before because you,
yeah.
yeah, you could it could mean that you'll be robot faster than the mechanics,
So it's ambiguous because of this. You have faster than is your keyword.
and we
Okay.
have no
On the right, we have a noun.
yes,
Yes. We might want to make it parallel to Joe, right? Joe versus the mechanics, okay. But what happens in the middle? You have another noun. So you have two nouns on the left. Whenever you have more than one noun on the left, especially the ones what do you want to compare here? Mechanics with Joe, I think, right? Um, that's the most reasonable thing. But if you have something in the middle, another noun, then it is automatically ambiguous. Okay,
yeah,
if it is ambiguous, then you need to have a verb here like do or build, something like that. You need to have a verb. Okay,
okay,
so it's not about some people start just thinking about this too much and say, okay, but the mechanics cannot be compared to robots. It doesn't matter. I mean, because at the end we can compare mechanics to robots. What we want to do is just if you have more nouns on the left, then that's going to be ambiguous. It's not about the meaning too much. It's more about the number of nouns.
and it's also
Okay.
when there is only faster than the marker.
No, it's for any marker. For any marker, especially those that will allow exceptions. Right. We mentioned that the ones that allow exceptions usually are the ones that have er and than, more than, better than, sure, all of those with than, and the ones with as something else. Those are the typical markers that allow for exceptions,
Okay,
basically for omission of the verb, right?
okay.
So those are usually the ones. Nice. Okay, so it's about the number of nouns. Let's see. Number nine.
We can eliminate all the ones who doesn't have the helping verbs.
I'm sorry, could you say that? Do you want to eliminate the ones that do not have helping verbs?
Yes,
Very good. Why?
because kind of ambiguous that way.
Okay, nice. Why is it ambiguous? Let's say you have down here. Let's say you have this one, the city on the right. That's a noun. Why would that be ambiguous?
Because we don't know if we're talking about restaurants or
Very good. So actually, you want to make it part of the San Antonio, right? That's a
yes,
city. But in the middle, you have another noun. Now, if you have this noun in the middle between the noun that you want and the other noun, and you have one, let's say, let's call this a third noun, that's ambiguous already. Okay, very good. So we are going to need some sort of verb. So this is out. Nice. That's how we do it. Then what?
okay. So now we can use helping verbs, right? So I think the main verb it has, or it,
The main verb is yes. The main verb is has.
what the comparisons is between local residents claim that, so they claim they do, right?
Yes. I mean, this has gets replaced with do.
Do.
Okay, because there are two different types of have, right? To have of haber and to have of tener. This one is an action, tener, and the other one is a helping verb. This to have of haber gets replaced with have. That's the have that you also see when you have a perfect tense, right? I have gone, those kind of things. The other half of having something, tener, it's an action, so it gets replaced with to do. If I say, I have money, but Joe, I have to say doesn't. Why? Because this have is not a have, no, it's just a have of action. Have of action gets replaced with do.
I have.
Okay, so it's okay that they are using do in order to replace has.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Got it. It does. But it's okay only because it's replacing an.
Eh, Could you say that again, please?
I it's only right because of what? I didn't hear that. So because half should be replaced with half, right? And do.
No, no, no. It would do. Has there are two types of have,
Ah,
right?
yeah, that the one you just mentioned. That the
The
one
have
with
of helping verb that
the
haber
tener,
in Spanish is haber, and then the have of tener.
tener.
If you have have of tener, that's an action, and that always gets replaced with to do.
Okay.
Always.
Every
Okay.
time
So
half is an
it's
action.
fine that they are doing that here. They're replacing that have with us. It's okay.
Okay. The ethnicity. That does ethnicity. What to do? So I would choose letter C, or maybe
That's good. Okay. Why? Let's see why. I mean, there are few words that they're changing, right? Let's go over that. In letter C, what they're doing is they are removing the word any, right, from the first two. Why do you think it is important in this case to remove that word? Why do you think that that word is worthless?
mm, any other city. Mm, I don't know. I don't
Go.
remember. I don't remember.
Let's see. I mean, we start with the premise of if any is fine, let's say, then we
Okay.
don't want to remove it, right?
Yeah.
Well, we want to remove it because if we remove any, we will change in the meaning. Now, do you think any adds any value
Oh
there?
no.
I mean, it's adding meaning or it's nothing any?
No. It's not anything.
No, any it's extreme word actually.
Yes. Oh
It's like
well,
all. Actually all.
all the
So
others.
if you say I'm better than any other person, we're saying that all the others, you see.
Okay.
So so the same thing here. San Antonio has more restaurants than any other. So that all the other ones are saying. If you don't say that, the meaning is not the same because it's not about all the others. Just like maybe some others partial, right? So we need any. That's how.
Okay.
Now between those two, what is the difference?
Any city does, or does any other city? What the position of
Other.
well, and the use of
Word
other.
other. When you see a difference in length, normally is because they're adding one word or they're subtracting one word. So we have to see if that word is necessary or not. So here they're adding a word, other. Is that word important? Yes. B is the answer. Why in this case other is important? Because when you are comparing one species, right, to its type, to the same type, then you need the word other. For example, if I say, I love dogs and animals, is that okay? No. Why? Because in these animals, I'm including dogs, right? So I end up repeating dogs, you see? Because part of the animals, we have
Yes.
dogs.
Yes.
So in order to not repeat them, we say other. Yeah? Same thing is happening here. San Antonio has more restaurants than any other city. So B in that case. Okay? Very good. That's being nice. So now we move on to comparative adjectives. What is a comparative adjective? A comparative adjective is a noun. I'm sorry, it's an adjective that ends with er. Okay, including more and less, more and less. So all these more, better, shorter, taller, those are comparative adjectives. The theory tells you that this is very easy. Whenever you have one of those comparatives, you need the word than. More than, better than, shorter than. If you don't have the word than, then that comparison is incomplete. Okay? You need the word than, and then you need the counterpart, the other part that you're comparing it with. So if I say there are less cabs in the city, that's going to be wrong. Why? Less cabs, or a comparison. Than what? Less cabs than before? Less cabs than in the country? Or than what? We don't know, right? So we need to have a than here, and here the other part that we're comparing it to. So comparison is always about two things, right? So here that's wrong. And of course, less is wrong too because of what? Why is less wrong?
Countable and uncountable.
Right, so you should have fewer, right? Fewer cabs in the city than something else. Okay, so that theory is pretty simple. Okay. Now they say be careful when you're converting adverbs into comparative adjectives, as this is a common trap set by the G-man. They say Mike runs quicker now than before. Okay, that's incorrect. Why? They're using the word quicker. Quicker. What does quicker mean? Quicker means more quick, right? That's why we're writing er at the end. More quick. Okay. Quick is an adjective. So this quicker ends in er, that's also an adjective, right? Now, is that okay? Or maybe they here wanted to use an adverb. What are they trying to use in this case?
That's an adverb, right? Or should
That's an adverb.
that
Quicker
should be an adverb
uh,
or not?
should be an adverb, right? More quickly, right? It should be more quickly. Why? Because you want to modify runs. Mike runs more quickly now than before. Now, more quickly cannot get shortened to quicker. They are not the same thing. Quicker means more quick, not more quickly. More quickly doesn't have an abbreviation. Okay, so if you want to say more quickly, but not quicker. So remember, usually things that end with er are going to be adjectives. Okay?
Okay.
Except maybe for a couple that we're going to see later that not most likely they're going to be adjectives. Good. Then we have one exception. We've mentioned before that whenever you see an er word, comparative adjective, you got to have a than, right? Not always. If you have an article "the" before the er, then you're creating really an idiom. Okay, so in that case, you don't need a than. So, for example, here, right, both Joe and Mike are great players, but Mike is the better one. He is the better one. So in that case, it's not necessary. You don't need a than. Okay, so that's the only case. You are not going to see this too much, though, right? So that's just a particular idiom that we're forming with comparatives. Now, they say here you have that idiom, right? That idiom usually is when you have one comparative with the, right? The better, for example, on one side, you are want to have, or you're going to want to have a comparative on the other side too, plus an article. Example: the more you study, the better your score. So here we're trying to form a correlation. The more something, the better something else.
Okay.
So if you feel that there's a correlation, and on one side they have a da plus a comparative, you have to do the same thing on the other side. The same way here, right? The higher your score, the easier it is to get accepted. Okay, the higher something, the easier. So because they're correlated, that's why we call this a correlative comparative. That's an idiom. Okay, good. And in those cases, of course, you don't need a than. You don't need a than because you're correlating more than comparing.
Okay.
Okay,
The highest score.
easy.
Right.
So now we go here, number 10.
So I don't know if we can use then those of.
And those of, okay, why not? You have those of, and why you, why don't you like it? What's kind of suspicious about that?
Could be no. So well, then those referring to colleagues, right?
Colleges?
Yeah,
Yes.
colleges. Okay. So those of mo- most predominantly white college. Those of.
Colleges. Okay. So is that okay? Do you need to compare colleges or not? First of all, let's start. What are you going to eliminate first? Before B, I mean, before you start eliminating B, is there anything you want to eliminate? Because I think B kind of looks, it doesn't look too bad.
B.
There are other ones that are totally wrong, that are just awful. So let's start eliminating the ones that are the worst, always.
For me, letter C is the worst.
No,
No.
the worst is these two. These two are the worst.
Okay.
Why? Because if you have more, you need them. Easy. Those two are gone.
We're done. Okay.
Now, between these three, what do you do? Or among those three?
Okay. If I have more than, so for me it's okay. Letter A. So let
Okay. In
yeah.
A, let's check the comparison. We have the word than.
Yes.
What do we have on the right?
Most predominantly white college. Most is
Structure. What structure we have on the right? Parallelism.
I and predominantly is an adverb.
Okay, so we have predominantly at the right. I mean, that's the word that is important. What is the word that is important on the right?
The
Because
noun.
if we say, for example, blue car,
The
and you
noun
say, oh, on the right we have an adjective. That's blue. No, that's not it, right? When you
is
have an adjective next to a noun, the noun is a leader, right? That
is
adjective is a servant for the noun.
is a
Same
noun.
way here.
Noun and an
Most
adjective.
predominantly white colleges. What do we have on the right? Colleges. All these things just modify,
Yes.
right? Just most is giving you indication of the quantity of colleges. White is giving you indication of the type of college. Predominantly is modifying white. So all of that is modified. You have colleges, okay. And now, what do you want to compare it to on the left?
To a noun, right?
All right. What noun do you have on the left?
Um, Economic basis. There is
Economic basis, right? Basis. Does it make sense? You want
uh,
to compare economic basis to colleges?
no.
No. So A is out.
Okay, so
That's why those make sense. Because those is going to copy the
actually, I was when I
basis. You're
saw
going to say the basis to.
yeah, and at first I picked that. So yeah, so that was
to
right. Let it be.
that was fine. Yes,
Okay,
those is fine because you're copying the basis and that's what you want to compare.
okay.
Okay.
Lo hice bien
Very good.
despacio, lo hice bien.
And now we go to number 11. So here we use the idioms.
Okay. Mm, will it be letter C?
Letter C. Okay, very good. Why?
The idiom is the more the greater.
Yes, the more the greater. Very good. Easy. What about this one? Number 12. Number 12.
So after the semicolon, we have to have a main clause, like we talked before, a main clause, semicolon, main clause.
Yep,
Or,
that's fine. You
or
need a main clause
okay,
because of that semicolon. Perfect.
So main clause must have a subject and a verb. Um, Rating the watt hour higher. The higher the watt hour rating is a verb, right?
No,
No, it's
that's a
an
noun.
adjective,
That's a
right?
gerund. It's a
Gerund.
gerund.
Okay.
In this case, it's a complex gerund. The rating.
The watt hour. So there's no verb there, or yes.
You do have a verb here,
The
but it can be
oh,
expanded.
okay. So it's all that.
So in all cases, you have a clause on the right.
Okay. I would say that could be the higher, the longer. If we use
Very good.
yeah.
That's what we need to do, right? That's a correlative comparative. Nice. Very good. Any
If I
questions here?
saw a marker, like a correlative marker, I will prefer to choose that one. If I,
If you believe they're trying to set a correlation, yes.
okay,
Usually, when they give you that, most likely they want you to choose it. Okay, that's what they're usually gonna do.
okay,
So you won't get this too much, and these are tend to be easy. Okay. Now, what about this numbers? This is a little bit more tricky. So you have two types of relationship when you are dealing with numbers: addition and subtraction, and then you have multiplication. If you have addition and subtraction, you want to use comparative adjectives in order to relate your nouns. Okay. What are comparative adjectives? We already talked about that, right? ER. So Joe is 3 years older than his brother. Older. Why older? Because in this case, you want to say 3 years more than his brother. You want to make or want to create a relationship of addition. Okay, that's fine. Now, what would be wrong? The GMAT sometimes is going to say Joe is 3 years as old as his brother. That would be incorrect because as old is not adding on top of the other one. Okay, so that would be wrong, and then you go with the ER if you want to add. Now, if you want to multiply, how do you know that you want to multiply? How do you know that you're facing a relationship of multiplication? Because you need to have the word times. If you have the word times, then it means they want to multiply, right? Sometimes the word times is going to be hidden. It's going to be, they're going to say twice. Twice means two times, right? Or it's going to say thrice sometimes. Thrice. Okay. Thrice means three times. Okay. Twice and thrice. So if you have those, then that's going to be a multiplication. Now, when you have a multiplication, you have three ways to set your quantity that you are multiplying. Well, the first one, for example, this one, Joe's car is three times. So this times is telling me they want to multiply, right? Three times something, as fast as in this case. So this quantity is the one they want to multiply as something else. So you can give your quantity with as something else, three times as fast as Mike's bike. So that's one way in which you can give your quantity. Way number two, second way would be using a noun. So you can say, for example, Joe's car, you can say has, instead of is, I'm sorry, instead of is, you say has. Here, let me change that. Has three times the speed of Mike's bike. That's also fine. So you have three times, and then what's the quantity that you want to multiply? The speed. So in that case, you can have a noun too. Okay, those are good. Now the third one is ugly. Okay, ugly, but it's not totally wrong. You can have a comparative adjective also, but usually is ugly. Okay, so instead of saying Joe's car has three times the speed or Joe's car is three times as fast, you can say Joe's car is three times faster than Mike's bike. That's ugly though. Okay, so you have those three ways to place your quantity, the quantity that you are going to multiply as something else, the noun, and then the comparative adjective.
okay. So Well, I will try to remember. Okay.
So just copy those three. Make sure that you annotate that the last one is ugly. Okay. And then and of course, the trigger whenever you want to multiply would be the word times. And sometimes it's going to be hidden with twice, right? Thrice is very, very extremely uncommon. I've almost never seen it. Okay. But twice is common.
Okay. So,
Okay.
um, can you repeat just one more time? Number three, what is ugly?
Yeah, the comparative. What is a comparative? ER. So we like the comparatives for addition, right? But for multiplication, that's ugly.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay? For addition, it's fine. For multiplication, that's going to be ugly. But it's still accepted, still valid. Let's go here, number 13. Let's see how we do that.
So we're talking about addition here, right?
Yes.
So we have,
Here, addition, because we don't have the word times, and here you want to say 2,000 years more than the other one. So it's
so
an addition. Nice.
yeah. So we have to use ER comparison.
Very good. So we are going to cross out this assaultas. Nice.
The
Yes.
difference is in the verb, the final word, the verb. Oh, well, of no verb is an adverb or
Yes. Basically, if you want to have this supposed as an adverb or supposed as an
an
adjective.
adjective. Yes,
Yes.
I
So
think
whether what depends on what you want to modify.
um, either the noun or the adjective.
Right, because if you use supposed, you will be modifying predecessors, which is the noun, right? If
Yes,
you supposedly, you will modify Mediterranean.
that is an adverb, an adjective.
Yes.
So you use uh, you have to use the adverb supposedly.
Why do you want to modify Mediterranean? Why not predecessors?
Because we were talking about the Brittany, we're can compare with the
I would
vinegar.
say both of them make sense. Both of them make sense, but the original one said that what wasn't really sure, what wasn't certain, was that they were predecessors.
Okay,
They don't know if they are the predecessors, so they were supposed predecessors. Then, if you say supposedly Mediterranean, that's changing the meaning. Okay,
okay.
that's the thing. So B, we go with B here. Number 14.
Could be letter B.
Okay, why? Two. Yes, it is.
Okay, so in letter C, we're using match and as an uncountable,
Very good. Apples is countable.
yeah,
Nice.
modifier. So yeah, also 2 times as many apples as there were. I think that's worthy, and also, um, that's a word there is ugly.
Word there is ugly. Very good. Two times as many apples. Two times is kind of wordy. Twice is shorter, right?
Yeah.
So, and there it's wordy, and here we're not talking about places. So it's very ugly. Nice. What else?
Hmm. A doubling.
Doubling.
What's that? I don't know.
That's not even. If we want to set a relationship of
That's
multiplication, we want
simply
the word times.
simply during is that or
Yeah, it's a very ugly symbol gerund. Complex gerund. I'm sorry, complex.
complex? It's
If we
complex
have an
because the
A,
a. Right.
yes,
Okay.
exactly. That's out.
Hmm. Well, in
Out. A.
letter E or A, double the apples that it has.
Two things that are weird: helping verb has and double.
Okay.
Why?
Hmm.
Double because we prefer to have the word
So
times if we want to set a multiplication.
yes.
And has because the verb here is produces, gets replaced with to do.
Resist. Okay, so that's a helping
Helping
verb.
verb. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. So there we have 14. And that's it with lesson for comparisons. Okay. You've been doing good here. So keep on practicing. And now we're going to start with the final lesson, which is coordinators.
Connectors.
Okay.
Okay.
Connectors. Actually, connectors. Right. And connectors. So this lesson is very short. But basically, the premise for the whole lesson is this: when you read a sentence, it's very important for us to notice the number of clauses they have, right? Or that it has. Okay, the number of clauses. Because for every two clauses, you will need one connector.
Okay. Yes.
Okay? That's important. Then they say if you have two main clauses and you have a simple comma, that's not enough.
Okay.
Comma is not a good connector. You need something else, something more. So we have five types of connectors, actually three that are important. The other two are basically not too important, right? So the first one would be this fanboys,
Mm-hmm.
also known as coordinators, right? So you can have clause number one, comma, maybe and clause number two. See? So that would be uh, your relationship there. Number two, subordinators. With subordinators, you have a different arrangement. You have two possible arrangements. You could start subordinating the first clause. So subordinator, clause number one, comma, clause number two. In this case, the first clause is a subordinate clause. Or you can have clause number one, subordinator, clause number two. In that case, the subordinate clause is a second clause. Okay?
Okay.
So you have those two ways with the subordinators. Then we have number three, semicolon. We already know that. A semicolon joins two clauses. Number four, we have colon, colon. And number five, we have the dash. The dash is kind of a chameleon. It's a chameleon because it basically,
It's like a
um,
comma, right?
it's like a comma, like a semicolon or a colon. It doesn't have a real meaning of its own. It has no content. Just copies other punctuation marks.
Okay.
Okay. So the first three are the ones we want to truly memorize: fanboys, subordinators, and colon, semicolon. I'm sorry, semicolon. But then, of course, in order to be able to apply that, you have to notice how many clauses you have in a sentence. Okay, very good. So the coordinators make two sentences or two clauses equal in relevance. So when you are coordinating two sentences, you are saying that both of them are equally important. Okay, both of them are equally important. That's what they're saying. So different than the subordinators, right? When the subordinators are saying that one sentence is more important than the other.
Okay.
Okay, the coordinators you keep both of them are main classes. Now here you have your full list of fanboys. We already know them, right?
Yes.
And now we're gonna do this one, number one.
Could be letters D, right?
Could be letter D. Okay, perfect. How come? Why are the other ones wrong?
So, well, in letter is. Actually, I was kind of confused because in letter B, we're using the ing as a consequence, or no necessarily.
You could, okay, but is that a consequence really? If that's a consequence, you would say first they help and then they proclaim a truce. Would that make sense? Because a
Mhm.
consequence comes after, right?
Yes.
To the
No,
future. And that's not a consequence. So the only thing that could be would be a how, explanation of how. But in this case, it would be wrong. Why?
because there is no connector.
No, why would you need a connector though?
Okay. Mm, they know. Yeah. Mm,
No, but do you need to check that comma ing, right? How do you check that comma ing?
comma ing. I forgot about it.
Theory of comma ing.
That's a gerund.
No, that's not a gerund. That's a comma ing adverb, right? Could be, as you said, a consequence or a explanation of how. How you how do you have to verify? This one's wrong, but why?
um, the leaping gate help to keep peace. How they keep peace? Um, I know I have to answer. I have to ask a question. I don't
You have to
remember.
ask your questions, right? That's good. So first of all, how they helped, that's number one. Then you have to go to the subject and say, okay, can that subject of that verb perform that action or
Production.
not? Can the Olympic
No.
Games proclaim? No. Actually, the states can proclaim, but not the Olympic Games. So that's why it's wrong.
Okay.
Good, good. Now, by the way, what you chose D is fine. That's the answer. Let's see, why are the other ones incorrect? A is the hardest one to eliminate. What about B? I'm sorry, C.
Or when they use when they proclaim a secretary for the of the Greek word. So they could be referring to states or to or to the games. Well,
Yes, that's good. So that day is kind of ambiguous. And besides, when changes the meaning too much,
okay.
right? Because it's not when, it's they want to say how they helped them or how they achieved that peace, right? So it's different. When it's not helping there. Good. Then what? How do you eliminate the last one? Last one is important for us to eliminate.
They have to be by proclamation of a secret that was I know there is not the main cause of elimination. It could be it's little wordy, it's very wordy. Mm,
But proclamation is wrong, right? Because what are they trying to say? They're trying to use this just as they use in letter B to give you an explanation about how it is performed. They could achieve that by doing by plus ing. By plus ing would be helping you, kind of giving you explanation of how also, all right? But by plus a noun doesn't have that function. When you have by plus a noun, you have other functions, right? Like by a place, right? I live by the beach, or a performer, like that work was done by me, the book was written by me, performer, or the time, right? I'm gonna be tomorrow. I'm gonna give it to you by 12:30, something like that. See?
okay,
So they have no meaning of explanation. Okay, explanation would be by plus ing, but if they had by plus ing, they would be making the same mistake as in B.
okay.
Same mistake. Yeah. And then between those two here, C and A, why did you go for D? I'm sorry, and not for A? What didn't you like about A?
Mm, it was kind of weird for me. Who has in that a secret was proclaimed.
In that and four, right? So the difference between that and four. In this case, I mean, both of them could be fine. Okay. They in that kind of stands for shown by, shown by. Well, for means because. So if I say, for example, the dog is sick, it's happy. Let's say happy. In that, or let's say no, because, right? Because the same thing as for, right? It is
Shown.
moving.
You said it's show by shown.
Shown by, shown, mostrado, shown.
Okay, okay,
Yeah. Now, because it's moving its tail, is
okay.
that okay? The dog is happy because it's moving its tail. No. Why? Because moving its tail is
It's a
not causing the dog
consequence.
to be happy. It's a consequence. So
Yes.
it's a consequence, or it's kind of a signal, right?
Okay,
It's shown by, so it should be in that. In that it's moving still. So in that it's moving still, it's letting me know that the dog is happy, but it's not causing the dog to be happy. Okay. So here I think it's very difficult to tell which one, whether in that or four are correct. I think both of them could make sense. But here the thing would be the festival is month and the month of the festival. Festival is month would be wrong because when you have, for example, Joe's car, apostrophe, possessive, that car belongs to Joe. It's a belonging. You see?
yes,
If you have the month of the festival, that's fine. But the festival's month is wrong because the month does not belong to the festival. So that would be incorrect. For example, we say the month of May, right? We wouldn't say May's month. The
okay,
month doesn't belong to May. So I think that's the easier way. So this one was a hard one. It was a hard one. Letter A, especially to eliminate it, is difficult. Okay, good.
okay,
So next class, which is next Wednesday, we are going to finish sense correction. Definitely, we have a little to do. Now, what we're gonna start doing would be a remake of the whole platform.
oh yeah.
Okay, so now you have, because now you have all the tools. I mean, you have 95% of the tools. 5% we still have to do on this lesson, but you have enough. So go over homework number 1.1 to homework 2.3. Okay, all of them. Do all of them. Make sure watch the videos. All right. Also go over the lessons. Lessons 1 to 3. Okay. What I'm going to do is I expect you to work with all of those exercises. If you have questions regarding any of them, and I expect you to have several questions, this is the time to make them, to ask them.
Okay,
Okay. For the first 3 lessons, which the first 2 lessons, which is subject verb agreement and parallelism.
okay,
Okay. And for the lessons and for the homeworks, for of course for the homeworks you have the videos also, right? I'm going to be asking you after you ask your questions. I'm going to be asking you randomly, right? What about this one? Especially focus on eliminating, right?
okay,
Not only that one is correct, but why the other ones are incorrect. Okay, because that's what's going to give you a lot of confidence when you go and you take the exam. Also will allow you to make some nice skips and to do certain things strategy wise when you
Uh,
take the exam.
Rod, I have a question regarding
Yes.
that. How much questions I have to skip in the exam? There's a number?
It depends. It depends. It depends on how your timing is.
So there's no
Okay,
number.
but if you skip, let's say three, that's kind of normal or okay.
Okay.
If you skip four, that's a little
But
over. It means that you
in sentence correction only or?
no on the whole verbal exam.
Okay.
Three for the whole verbal exam. You get 12 sentence corrections around that. I mean, it's not fixed. 12 critical reasonings and 12 reading comprehensions. And from these 36 questions, you're going to skip around three. If you have a little bit of problems with time, you skip around four. It is not recommended that you skip more.
Okay. Okay.
But if you skip three, that's fine. I mean, most people do that, and they get high scores. All right.
Okay.
So your time has to be on point too, and that's why you also do the homeworks, right? So with the homeworks, you kind of can tell if you're taking too long or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So that's what we do for next class, Josue, and just ask as many questions as you need in
Okay.
order for you to fully understand those exercises.
Got it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We talk to you then. Have a nice week.